If you want to start a YouTube channel, it might seem like you need to buy an endless amount of equipment. Some YouTube channels have a super polished style with beautiful studio backgrounds. But actually, to start a YouTube channel, I think is quite simple. So today I'll share with you my top 7 must-have essentials for launching your YouTube channel in 2024. Plus, I'll throw in some budget-friendly alternatives for each item. And I'm gonna start right now. Right, so let's start with the most obvious piece of gear to start your YouTube channel, the camera. And the camera I actually use two. I use my Canon EOS R5, which is actually the camera I'm using right now, as well as my Canon C70. A lot more recent videos have been filmed on the C70, but most of the studio stuff, including the video I'm filming right now, is usually filmed on my R5. And the lenses that I predominantly use two for inside the studio. I use my Sigma 24mm f1.4 Art. It's actually the lens I'm using right now to film this video, as well as I also use my Canon EF 100mm f2.8 macro. Now that's more for my B-roll, so if you've ever watched any of my lens reviews or any of my product reviews, the likelihood you've probably viewed it through my 100mm macro. But do I recommend these cameras for YouTube? Well, yes and no. Yes, because I think they're great cameras, but also they're very, very expensive and majorly overkill for what most people are going to use it for YouTube. In fact, all I do for YouTube in my studio is filming 4K 25 frames. And to be honest with you, most cameras today can shoot in 4K 25 frames. This camera can film in all the way up to 4K 100. So to be honest with you, this is majorly overkill. So if you've got the money, obviously I recommend an R5, but let's have a look at what specs I do recommend for YouTube. Okay, so the first thing I recommend is a flip out screen. Especially if you're a solo content creator, a flip out screen is probably going to be the most important spec a camera to have. Having a flip out screen basically means you're allowed to check your audio levels, you can check your histogram, you can check your composition, whilst also filming yourself. In fact, I'm doing it right now for this video. It is incredibly helpful. I also recommend the camera to be mirrorless and not an older DSLR. For the main reason is most modern mirrorless cameras are really good, and to be honest with you, you'll struggle to find a newer DSLR camera. Most cameras today are mirrorless. Canon, Sony, Nikon, they've all moved over to mirrorless now, and to be honest with you, they're just naturally better cameras. They're smaller, lighter, and usually have better video specs. Another thing I recommend, but don't think it's essential, is a camera that can shoot in 4K. It just allows you to crop in post if you do want to export out in 1080p, but to be honest with you, I've been shooting in 4K for the last, I don't know, 2-3 years. It's great. Having 4K resolution is just nice. Most people won't view it in 4K just to do with, Wi-Fi, depending on the speed. Most of the time YouTube will downplay it to like 1080p or 720p, depending on if you're on maybe 4 or 5G. But it is nice to film in 4K. It just gives you that little bit of extra resolution if you want to crop in post. But I must say, I wouldn't say it's essential. Now, buying a camera and a lens can actually be quite an expensive purchase, especially if you're buying a more modern camera like mine, the Canon R5, that will set you back a whopping £4,000. So what budget options have we got available? Well, the first budget option is buy secondhand and buy older. If you want to buy a camera and lens, you'll save yourself a huge amount of money, and you could probably get a decent camera and lens for under £1,000, but that still might be too expensive. So what is the cheapest budget option available? Well, actually, you've probably got it in your pocket, or you're watching me on it right now. That's your phone. A phone is a great option, especially if you don't want to spend any money at all. The likelihood you've probably got a decent camera in your pocket right now. If you do want to start a YouTube channel on a budget, to be honest with you, your phone is probably your absolute best option. Now, my next must-have is a tripod, and to be honest with you, I think this is actually quite important. You want a nice, stable tripod to get nice, stable shots. Now, the tripod that I'm currently using, actually filming right now, is the Manfrotto B3 GT with a ridiculously stupid name video head. It's called the MVH 500AH video head. It's just a Manfrotto video head. Now, I recommend obviously a video head if you're more of a video YouTuber, simply because you can do pans and tracks a lot easier than a photography head. Now, obviously I brought this one because it's got the 90-degree column mechanism, which means I can shoot straight downwards, but that isn't, I wouldn't say, essential. It really depends on the type of videos that you want to create. A normal standard tripod will probably do you fine. Now, there's 3 things I'd recommend with getting a tripod. Personally, I'd recommend buying an aluminium one. Carbon fiber ones, especially if you're just shooting in your studio, they're more expensive and you're not going to be using the benefits. The reason carbon fiber tripods exist is they're nice, lightweight, but to be honest with you, if you're shooting in a studio, you don't need a lightweight tripod, you want a nice sturdy one. So I'd recommend an aluminium one. I'd also recommend one that actually has a video head. You can buy ones with just legs only, and then you can buy a video head as an optional extra, or you can buy ones with the video head as a kit. So personally, I'd recommend buying one with a video head. I wouldn't say it's essential, but it just means you can pan and track a lot easier, where if you had a photography head or a ball head, it does make it a lot more challenging. So my budget option for tripods is a smaller tripod. Something like this would work really nicely. This is called the Manfrotto Pixie, and basically if you've got a small lightweight camera or your phone, sits on a table really nicely, you've got a ball head so you can adjust it, and it's pretty simple. You can also extend the legs a little bit if you want to do that. Now actually I use this for my microphone, so sometimes I have my microphone sitting off. It's just a nice stable place to place my microphone, but if you want to place a small lightweight camera, this will probably be perfect. The main downside to it is obviously it isn't very tall, so you have to place it on a table to film yourself, which means you can't film in every single location, as well as it can't handle larger cameras. So for example, if I wanted to put my R5 on here, it probably wouldn't balance very well. So yeah, if you're on a budget, a small tripod like this will be perfect because it's significantly cheaper than the more expensive option, which is a larger tripod. Right, so let's move on to audio. And in my opinion, audio is probably the most important thing for your YouTube channel to have right. Doesn't matter what lighting you've got, doesn't matter what camera or lens that you're using, no one will watch your video if you've got rubbish audio. So getting audio right, in my opinion, is at the very tippy top of the thing that you want to get right for your YouTube channel straight away. And I have definitely learned the hard way. I started my YouTube channel with the internal microphone of my camera. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a camera tip video for you, and this one is all about lens hoods. And as you can see, it sounded really, really bad. My audio now sounds a lot better thanks to me upgrading my microphone. Now the microphone I'm currently using is the Sennheiser MKE600, which is an XLR microphone, which means it doesn't natively fit into most modern mirrorless cameras like my R5. So now I use the Tascam CA XLR 2D adapter, which basically means I can use any XLR microphone with my R5, which is great. But don't think you have to go out and buy a really expensive microphone to get good audio. You need to buy the right microphone for the situation that you're shooting in. Now, if you're shooting in a studio like me, a shotgun microphone like mine is probably going to be great. You can have it out of shot, so you can kind of move around without having rustling noises from a wireless microphone. But obviously, if you're shooting out and about, you're gonna have wind noise. Shotgun microphones will determine how far you are away. So the further you are away, the less good audio that you're going to receive. Then I would personally recommend a wireless microphone, and to be honest with you, that's the one that I would probably recommend over all others. Wireless mics are great for indoor and outdoor use. I own currently the DJI wireless mics, as well as I own a pair of old Rode wireless Go's, and both of those are great for YouTube. I actually, until very recently, had wireless mics in all of the time, and I only recently upgraded to my Rode pod mic, and then I've now upgraded to my Sennheiser. So if you are starting YouTube, to be honest with you, I'd probably recommend a wireless microphone, but they are still quite expensive. So what budget options have we got out there? Well, actually, I think the cheapest budget option, again, is going to be your phone. Your phone has got a decent microphone on it. So all you'll need to do is have it kind of slightly out of shot, maybe pointing towards you, and you'll probably get a lot better audio than you would do from your camera. The internal microphones of most cameras today are terrible, to be honest with you. So I would never use it. I'd always recommend using some kind of external microphone. And all you need to do is have your kind of phone just out of shot, do a clap sync so you can see where the spikes are in the audio, and then simply synchronize them in post. If you want to learn how to synchronize audio, go ahead and watch this video here on my other Video Feaver channel, and I'll show you guys how to do it. But yeah, out of all of that, that's probably your best budget option. But to be honest with you, audio is something I would definitely spend money on, because I actually think it's the most important thing to get right for YouTube, or in fact, any video recording. Now, if you're someone like me and wants to start a YouTube channel that's maybe more tech related, maybe you want to review the next iPhone, or maybe you want to use a camera or lens like myself, then my next must-have is really essential for you, and it is a teleprompter. Now you're thinking, James, I don't need a teleprompter. Teleprompter is what they use on the news, and you'd be right, but genuinely a teleprompter is one of those items that I just wish I'd brought sooner. Now I just want to say thank you for NEEWER for sending me this teleprompter to review. I absolutely love it. Now, what is a teleprompter? Now, I've actually placed a little camera here you can see here. What a teleprompter is basically a 45-degree piece of glass that's hidden behind a black cloth, and basically that glass is super reflective. And all we need to do is basically put a screen just below it, make sure it matches up with the lens, and then you can actually read while also still looking down the barrel of a lens. Now, politicians use them, so many people use them, and they're genuinely really helpful for the main reason you can script your videos, which, in my opinion, for me, really helpful for making sure you're creating great content for YouTube. Because what you don't want to do, well, you could do two things. You could forget to say something that's really important for your video, or you could say something wrong. So maybe you could say, oh no, the R5 is 50 megapixels because that's what you've written down or that's what you remember. Well, actually, it's 45 megapixels. So you've said something wrong, and I'm sure in the YouTube comment people would pick up on it. So having a teleprompter allows you to make sure you don't miss anything, miss any of your key points for your videos, but also saying something wrong. Now, this teleprompter works really easily. It comes with an app, and it also comes with a remote. Now, obviously, I've got my teleprompter over there. So as you can see, I've actually scripted this video. So what I'm gonna do is click on this video here. You can see that it's got this script, so this is what it looks like, but don't forget, when using a teleprompter, it's gonna flip everything. So what's really nice about this app, all you need to do is click this little button here, and as you can see, it flips it all upside down and inverts it. So then all you need to do is get your phone, place it just below the teleprompter itself, making sure that red line matches up with the kind of height of your lens barrel. Then with your remote, which you've got here, you can start and stop recording. You've also got two other buttons. You've got a button here which changes the size of the text, so you can change it like so, make it really big or really small, depending on how far you are away from your teleprompter. And then next to here, you've got a way that you can basically go up and down your script. Then if you press play, it actually increases and decreases the speed of that text rolling through. Now, obviously teleprompters are on the more expensive side of things. NEEWER do offer a variety of options. So my teleprompter I've got here is the X17 II, but they do ones of different sizes and also different price points. So depending on the price point or depending on which one would work best for you. If you want to save yourself some money, and the budget option is to script your video using a piece of paper and then basically have a ball clip and kind of maybe on a light stand next to your lens. So for example, this is a really old lens review that I did, and you can see that all I've done is I've just scripted the video just here. But obviously there are limitations to it. You only can have as much information on a piece of paper, or a teleprompter, it can basically be completely endless. But there is a little bit of experience, I guess you could say, learning how to use a teleprompter. Not everyone gets it right.
Held by President. Stop moving what's this thing called? You know, teleprompter. Barack always kids, and he says, Joe Biden, he said, I'm learning to speak without a teleprompter. Joe's learning to speak with one.
Even famous people don't get it right, as you can see. So there is a little bit of getting used to using a teleprompter, but honestly, it's one of the best pieces of equipment for starting a YouTube channel. Again, it doesn't matter how good your camera is, how good your lens is, if the content of your video isn't very good, then no one's gonna watch it. And that is what a teleprompter provides. Amazing content, because you can now script your videos and talk about more complex topics than what you can do, or at least what you can remember in your head. So my next must-have has got to be lighting. And if you're filming inside a studio, lighting is incredibly important. If you're running, gunning and shooting outside, lighting might not necessarily be on your top priority, but if you're filming inside a studio and want to do talking heads like myself and want to do reviews and things like that, lighting is incredibly important. Simply because it doesn't matter how good camera you've got, if you've got terrible lighting, you're gonna have a terrible shot. Doesn't matter how expensive your camera is. But if you've got great lighting and a really inexpensive camera, you could even be using your phone, then your shot is always going to look professional. Now, in this shot here, I'm actually using 3 lights. I'm using my main light here, which is the Xeon X60 RGB light. I've actually just done a video on this channel about that, so I'll go ahead and place that in the link in the description, as well as my hair light, or the light just to my side here, is the Nanlite Pavotube 15C2. And then just behind me, my little kind of aperture light, my little RGB light here, is my Aperture MC RGB WW LED light panel. It's probably the cheapest light out of all of them, but again, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get great lighting. A budget option that you've got out there is actually a window. So I'd find a window that's north facing, so you don't get direct harsh sunlight, and you can use a window to light half your side, maybe coming from this side or coming from this side. Now, if you do want to get a light, there are 3 kind of specs I look for when buying my next LED light panel. So my first thing is try and find one that works with a softbox. Direct light will always look really harsh. So I've got a softbox here, and obviously I've got my nan light here, which is a long tube. So have one offers nice soft lighting. And the best way is to get yourself a small little softbox. The next thing I'd recommend for your main light is to be more powerful than 60 watts. The Xeon X60 is around about 60 watts or so, and that gives me enough amount of light to kind of light the entire table, as well as if I'm ever doing any product work or anything like that, doing product B-roll, 60 watts is nice and powerful. And the last thing, and the thing I recommend least, but it's nice to have, is bicolor or RGB, something that allows you to change the temperature of that light. Bicolor basically means it allows you to change the temperature value. So you can have really warm or really cool light, where RGB allows you to change the full HSI or hue, saturation, intensity of that light, like the light that I've just got behind me, and also my nan light and my Xeon light. I've got full lighting control, so you can light up products in a cool maybe blue and yellow, or one of my favorite YouTubers, Gerald Undone, has got one of the most beautiful kind of setups, and he uses full RGB lighting. So if you want to elevate your YouTube studio and make it look really nice, highly recommend buying good lighting, and if you can stretch to it, bicolor or even full RGB. But as a budget option, don't forget a north-facing window. Now, my next must-have has got to do with editing. You need some way of editing your video, and a computer is probably your best option out there. You can obviously get a desktop like mine, or you can get what a lot of other YouTubers use, which is a laptop, which allows you to obviously edit anywhere you are. I personally like editing on a desktop just simply because I've got nice large screens, and the screens that I've got behind me, or the computer setup I've got behind me, is the Mac Studio M1 Ultra, and I've got two Belkin 32-inch LCD screens. They're really good, but to be honest with you, way overkill for what you need for YouTube. A small little laptop will probably do really, really well. In fact, you could even use your phone if you're starting out and you don't want to spend a ton of money on a computer. Then to be honest with you, a phone is probably going to be your best option. You can edit on, like, for example, iMovie or some kind of free editing software, and you'll be able to easily edit on your phone. In fact, a lot of Instagram and TikTok videos that I create are all edited on my phone anyway, because it's easier to produce on there and then obviously post it onto Instagram and TikTok. But for YouTube, personally, I prefer editing on a computer, a desktop preferably, but a laptop is probably going to be your great option. If you've already got one, that's great, but a more budget-friendly alternative, I'd probably say, is going to be your phone. Okay, so before we go ahead and talk about our very last essential for starting your YouTube channel, let's quickly go through a quick fire round of small products that can definitely help out launching your YouTube channel in 2024. First up, SD cards, or whatever card format your camera takes, and making sure you buy the right speed and size for your YouTube channel. Batteries, making sure you've got enough batteries for your lights, for your microphones, for your cameras. Maybe buy 1 or 2 batteries extra, just so you've got enough to film all of your videos. Next up, and a really handy product, is a wireless remote. Having a wireless remote so you can stop and start recording, for me, is really helpful. The last thing I do is get up from this table, walk all the way around, start record, sit back down again, do my piece to camera, get up, stop recording again. It just adds extra faff and slows you down, especially if you're trying to create lots of content like myself. So a wireless remote can really help to streamline your filming process. Another super handy product is this. This is a grey card, and what it does, it basically allows you to have really accurate colours within your videos. Because I film in log, and you can see this is what log looks like, really flat and undersaturated, I go ahead and actually use a grey card to colour grade all of my videos. So it doesn't matter what lighting conditions I'm shooting in, it could be really warm or really cool. With a grey card, it basically allows me to get really accurate colours. All you need to do is basically take a screenshot of this, then you color grade it and apply that color grade across the rest of your videos, as long as the lighting doesn't change. Really handy to have, and to be honest with you, not that expensive. And if you're a Sony shooter, you could actually use the gray of your lens cap. Apparently, that also classifies as a gray card. But as a Canon shooter, mine are black and that doesn't work, which is why I've brought myself a gray card. And the last thing is buy little props, little things that you can add into your videos. For example, I have just a little plant, and it just looks really nice sitting in the back of the studio, otherwise everything just looks really bland. So buy little props like this can work really well to add a little bit more personality to your YouTube studio. And my last essential is software, editing software to allow you to edit your videos. And I mentioned it previously, obviously with your phone, you've got like iMovie, for example, as a budget option, but the ones that I personally recommend are the Adobe. So the Adobe Premiere Pro, as well as I use Adobe After Effects to edit my video. So I edit most of my video in Premiere Pro, and if I'm doing any special transitions or effects, I often create that in After Effects. A lot of my intros are made in After Effects, and then I create a video and then import that into a Premiere Pro. And then for my thumbnails, I predominantly either use Photoshop or I use Adobe InDesign. Because I have the entire Creative Suite, I can use basically all of the Adobe softwares, which is really helpful, and they're obviously cross-compatible. So if you copy a Photoshop file into an InDesign file, it works really nice, as well as if you're doing it from Premiere Pro to After Effects. They just work really well together and they kind of coincide really nicely. If you are on a budget, there are a ton of free options out there. Brilliant. And there we go, guys. So that is my list of my top 7 must-have essentials for launching your YouTube channel in 2024. Now, of course, not all of them you'll buy straight away. You might build them up slowly, but if I could recommend anything, a really good light, a really good microphone, maybe use your phone, and most importantly, if you want to script your videos, use a teleprompter. And I want to thank you to NEEWER again for sponsoring this video. If you want to learn more about how you can use a teleprompter, and the teleprompter I'm actually using in this video, make sure to go ahead to the link in the description. And if you want to learn more about Lightroom, Photoshop, or photography in general, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to this channel, because I create new videos on this channel every single week. I've been James for Photo Feaver, and I'll catch you guys next time.